After a lot of tries, Michael Buzinski is finally on my podcast. Michael, thank you so much for being here with me today on Your Brand Amplified.
Yo, thank you for having me. I've got my Friday casual
I love it.
Hawaiian shirt on for the occasion.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I know. You're somebody I've been interested in talking to for a while. We had scheduling conflicts a few times, so it's fantastic that we're here today on this beautiful, beautiful day. And I was just mentioning that I saw your LinkedIn post this morning about digital marketing and people complaining that it doesn't work. But it actually does. You know, there are just new tactics and new strategies to use it. So before we get into that and the rule of 26, I'd love for you to give our audience a little taste of your background.
Oh, I come from a sordid past. So I've had, let's see, I was in marketing back when I was a teenager. That got and a budding musician, a professional musician, and all those good things. Along the way, I was a 10-year veteran, and after the Air Force, I started a recording studio called Biz Studios. About a year in, I realized that surviving off of starving musicians was a bad business plan. That pivoted into a media production house for small businesses. That grew into a multi-million-dollar creative agency. I grew it broke to the point where I needed to make a decision of my health and my happiness or the prestige of a multi-million-dollar creative agency. And so I decided to choose myself finally. And so I split the company up, and now I have a media production house that pretty much runs on its own now. And then I am all in on my buzzworthy integrated marketing firm, and we work with service-centric businesses and help them get more return on their investment when it comes to integrated marketing.
Nice. And I am a huge fan of integrated marketing. Even as a publicist, I always start like you. I started when I was in high school and a teenager, and I started out on the other side promoting DJs and clubs and music events.
Oh, there you go.
Not as a musician.
We probably ran in the same circles.
Yeah. So I think because of my background in marketing, and that's where I lived for most of my career, that's how I tackle PR, because PR is part of that strategy. It's part of the cycle. But for people who might be new, because we have small businesses, entrepreneurs listening to this, some people might not understand what integrated marketing is.
Right. Yeah, true. Yeah. You would just like me to dive into that?
Yes, please.
So there is, so let's go a little history real quick, 60 seconds on this. All right. So first we started with print media, newspapers, magazines, all that good stuff. Then somebody invented a thing called the radio. And so then we had radio, and then TV came along. All of that is what we call traditional media. And then somebody created the inner tubes, and we had now internet marketing and digital marketing and social media marketing and all these other facets of online marketing, really, if you think about it. And so when and then after even that, then you have streaming. So now you have taken audio, video, and now you're streaming it. So all of that is considered new media. So integrated marketing is saying, hey, we don't care what medium you use. We want to make all of it work together, because marketing is a creation of an ecosystem that promotes your brand, your service, your product, right? Brings people in. That's what marketing is all about, is to get the awareness, create that urgency, get them to come and talk to the business. And then from there, sales takes over for some of it. And then then you have the post-sale marketing that goes along with that, right? And all the other things that goes with that. So integrated marketing basically says, hey, where are you? What else do you need? And not worry about, hey, we only want to do email marketing, because that's a tactic, right? And that's what my post was talking about, is like people are using tactics thinking that is social media marketing is the thing. Like, not one thing works anymore. You can't just do TV commercials and expect for you to be as profitable as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Period. In a story. One, you'll go broke, and two, people don't watch TV like they used to.
Yeah.
So you have to go into new media, which means you have to integrate your television marketing just to do television marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I also think that's where, PR and marketing used to be church and state. And now, and some publicists still look at it that way. Some marketers still look at it that way. But I always make the argument, no, because if I have a client coming in for PR, but they don't have their brand identity, they don't have a marketing strategy, what I do for PR is not going to be of any use.
Nope.
It's not going to help them at all. So it has to be a whole, a circle, if you will.
Right.
And you have to see, okay, what part of my story am I sharing where? How am I storytelling across these different channels and platforms? And then how does that draw in and engage my ideal customer?
Exactly. It reminds me of a video I saw of a professor in front of, I think it was an economics class, and he had a jar and he put a bunch of rocks in the jar all the way up to the top. And he says, "Is the jar full?" And everybody's, "Yeah, the jar is full of rocks." And then he took a bunch of sand and he filled all the sand, he put all this sand, like a whole nother jar of looking like of sand into the thing. And he filled that all the way to the top. And he says, "Now is it full?" And everybody's like, "Yeah, definitely full now." And he grabbed a glass of water and poured this whole glass of water into the same jar, right? It's like there's all of these little facets. And when we talk about marketing, we talk about identifying our perfect clients. And I tell people, it's like, once you have identified who they are, now you got to go find where they're hiding. And when we take a look at that jar, the rocks are the obvious spaces that we look at. The sand is where the experts of certain tactics can fill in those holes. But the people who integrate all of it is the water that fills in the rest of that space that nobody can, even me can't just say, "Yeah, this is where you need to be." There's a process to that. And I feel like PR is a part of that water.
Yeah.
Because it is what helps people understand, or helps consumers get more impressions without being marketed to. And so that whole passive marketing tactic is going to become more and more important as we move into the later 2020s, because people are sick and tired of being marketed to.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear you say that. I'm going to have to pull that soundbite out and share it because it makes my case easier. So a lot of the things that you talk about there are so many tactics out there, and there's so much marketing of these tactics. So people get confused about what strategies to use, what tactics to use, what's going to really serve their customer and their clients. So how do you, weed through all of that? And I think that kind of leads into your book, possibly.
Yes, it definitely is why I wrote the book, because I'm sitting there, it's 2020, everybody's locked down. My clients are doing pretty well. I've only lost one, maybe two of the whole span of COVID to COVID. So I was really lucky, right? We had shift things around, but now people weren't signing up for new services, right? So I had some time on my hands. I'm like, how can I help my clients and prospects understand what it really means to market, right? And we do talk a lot about the tactics. And then I look at all of the KPIs, or the key performance indicators marketers use to show or to market, like you said, those tactics. If you use social proof, you can get 33% more sales or conversions. And you do this, you get this many. I was like, these are all vanity KPIs. And I'm like, what are the KPIs that actually move the revenue needle? Because if you go to a place like HubSpot, they got over 100 different KPIs you can look at. You go to Shopify, there's over 73. I'm not, as a marketer, wanting to look at that many.
No.
Let's take that's all vanity, right? I'm like, no, we use them from time to time in the back end to say, hey, are we moving in the right direction? But as a business owner, there's only one thing that we really care about, which is moving the revenue needle. So I went on a mission to find out what KPIs actually directly have an effect on our revenue. And so the rule of 26 identifies three of them. And that is unique traffic, conversion rate, and your average revenue per client. And so the rule of 26 states that if you increase your unique traffic by 26%, your conversion rate from your website by 26%, and the average revenue coming from the clients from your website by 26%, you will have a compounded effect of 100% or double the sales coming from your website.
Wow.
And the great thing is that each one of those done individually increases your revenue.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
That sounds like a no-brainer. Sign me up.
Right? That's on page 22. It takes me one page to do that. The rest of the book, it's only a 120-page book, but the rest of the book is basically tactics in helping you get those objectives, right? So the rule of 26 is a strategy. The individual steps are objectives, and then the tactics.
Nice.
Because what's happening is since like 2008, people have been using these tactics blindly. And so they're just saying, well, if I do this one thing, I'll get this much. And I'll do this one thing, I get this much. And I get this much. And it's like, yeah, you can work that until iOS 14 comes in and says, no, you can't do any of that.
Right.
And now you have that one tactic that was actually working, right? And it's gone. Now what?
Yeah. And that one tactic has been so disruptive to everybody. I just know personal experience when people turned on their privacy settings. People I know were like, why am I getting these ads now? These don't even apply to me. I'm not this person, but now Facebook doesn't know who I am. So they're just sending me everything. And then if I click on this because I'm like, oh, what are they saying about this? Even though that's not who I am, then you get more of those ads served to you. And so the ads aren't being targeted as effectively. So yeah. So again, like
you can thank Apple for that.
Yeah.
It's Apple's genius there. And yeah, we can talk about the politics of why they did that. And then Google had to follow suit because Google can't be left in the dust when it comes to digital stuff too. So we're all right now, you can't even buy and you can't even actually order ebooks from your Amazon app, your Kindle app, because of the new rules through Google Play.
Oh.
You have to go and log into your Amazon account and then buy it, and then it'll download it to your app. How frustrating that is when I'm on the road.
Well, I mean, that happens to me regularly, but I did not know that was the reason. So
it's a privacy issue.
Yeah.
And so everybody's so worried about their privacy, which I totally get. I'm not saying it's dumb. Now, the way they went about it probably was the worst thing they could probably done, but they didn't care because guess what? They've got iTunes. So they already have first party data. So damned be all who doesn't have as much information as Google and iTunes.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Some food for thought for everybody.
There you go. Yeah. And that's why we talk about owning your data now. And we've been talking about owning your data for a long time because, when people are talking about, oh yeah, let's go on social media. It's like, do you understand that back in the 2000 aughts, you could literally post one time a day and get probably 80% of your audience, their attention. Now you post 10 times a day and you're lucky to see 2%.
Yeah.
Instagram is even worse now. If you're not doing reels, you don't get anything. I mean, I don't even have that big of a following on Instagram. I have like 730 or something like that followers. I'll have stuff that has a 35 to 40% engagement on the people they do let see it. And I still don't get any love. Yeah.
I will get likes, but I don't get as many comments as I got even 2 years ago. I would get so many comments and now I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And I mean, Instagram is not my main marketing tool, right? It's just something I have to do. But yeah, to that point.
Oh, LinkedIn is, I'm with you. LinkedIn is the way to go for B2B folks. And I'm getting actually either LinkedIn likes me better now or my content's getting better because I'm getting more engagement. So one of the two.
Yeah.
Is there, I mean, we have like my personal page is, I think, around 7,500 or something like that, 7,600 followers, which is, to me, I'm like, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But still, LinkedIn only shows it to about maybe 300-400 people. Right. So if you don't get the engagement, you don't get anything. So I feel that LinkedIn has probably the most honest algorithms out there. But it's still a matter of, you got to get people's attention. And if you don't get it early, everything that happens within the first hour dictates what that post is going to do. And if you don't get good engagement within the first few hours, there are experts out there that'll tell you to pull it and repost it later. Try something else, because it's just gonna flounder there, and you don't want duplicate information out.
Yeah. So the rule of 26, do you include a lot of like the ways that you work with clients, a lot of the strategies, objectives, and tactics that you'll use when you're onboarding a client and when you're talking to them about their workflow? And do you really want to try that? If that's your goal, maybe we should look at XYZ instead.
So the book is as a collection of tactics that lend themselves to the 3 objectives of the strategy that is called the rule of 26. I go into analytics, because especially with digital marketing, analytics is everything. And in PR, you know that too. That's all you have in PR, because most PR doesn't actually create sales directly. It's in conjunction with other things that are happening, right? And that's okay. That's what PR is supposed to do, is supposed to create awareness of your brand and keep them top of mind, so that when your advertising goes out, people will react to the call to action that is there. That's why it works, because you're not selling through PR. And so in the book, I talk about PR briefly. Like I said, it's only 120 pages. I want to give people ideas. I tell people how to create traffic using pens, because I did it. And I tell the story of how I used pens. I'm not going to tell you. I want you to read the book.
Well, but, I mean, I will read the book as well, but now I'm intrigued. Well, and that was in the, early 2000s. I remember working, I was launching magazine. I was launch marketing manager for a couple of magazines. And one of our strategies to market to our advertisers or potential advertisers was sending things in the mail. Like we would send fun little things, little puzzles,
Lumpy
little
mail.
whatevers with little cute messages. And it was very effective. And I'm seeing now, I mean, I get hint, hint, people who are on my podcast sending me books, or, I get thank you letters from programs I sign up for. And I love it, because so much of what we get in the mail is junk mail. So now it's like, when I get that piece of mail coming physically to me, it makes so much more of an impact than the email I'm going to get in my inbox, or the marketing message I might be getting, when I'm Googling something, or when I'm looking on my Instagram or my Facebook or what have you. So I feel like some of the old school strategies are coming back into play.
Exactly. No, it is lumpy mail. People, they wrote off direct mail marketing, even email marketing. Email marketing still works. You just have to do it right. Cold email marketing is one thing, but like when you actually use your list, goes back to first party data. Using your email list properly should garner $1 per month per subscriber. And if it's not, you're doing one of 2 things is happening. You don't have the right message, and your tactics and your strategy are flawed, or you have the wrong people on your list.
Yeah.
Right. And so lumpy mail is what we used to call that, is very effective. And it is live and well in ABM, which is account-based marketing, which is, so when you get like, I have a book that I helped Mike Michalowicz promote. I'm sending that with my book and a letter all together, and say, hey, listen, I don't have all the answers. Here's another guy that I really appreciate when it comes to marketing. So cool. He wrote a cool book as well. I'd like to talk to you about some of the things in both of these books.
Yeah.
Now someone's like, you send me
what a conversation opener. No,
that's fantastic. They ain't going to read the books either if they're interested. And I bookmark the stuff I want them to read. And so they'll peruse a couple of those books. Yeah. And so there's like, oh, there's bookmarks. He's even done this. Okay. All right, here we go. So he reads a couple things. I might highlight it. If there's like just one thing I want them on that page to read, I might highlight it. So it's all manually done. But ABM marketing is been automated in a lot of ways. And
Mhm.
so people just have to be very cognizant of the fact that the more you automate, the less personal it becomes. The less personal it becomes, the less impact it has, because people buy from people they like and trust.
Yeah.
The more personable you can be, the more likable you are. The more likable you are, the more chances of getting a conversation with you it will happen. When you get into that conversation is when you start building trust.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that's so interesting, because I've had other conversations with people who are like, automate everything. It'll make your life so much easier. But you're right, it loses that personal touch. And those are messages that I typically just delete right away, because I'm like, oh, this is just another sales email. It's not talking to me about anything I really care about. It's not personalized. It's not teaching me anything. It's just telling me
Right.
like, this person had this much success using my program. You can too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, social proof is very important. It's part
Mhm.
of the equation, but it's not
Right.
what's going to make people reach out to you.
Yeah.
It's what helps them decide at the end, right? It's a conversion tool. And I do go into the fact that like social media, organic social media is not a sales generator.
Mhm.
It is a conversion tool for people who have already found you and trying to find out if they like and trust you.
Yeah.
Because that's what social media is about now. So I have a client, they have a cleaning company. Social media, they deal with affluent households. Okay.
Mhm.
People are making $1 million and up. Okay. These people do not question whether they're going to have their house cleaned. They just want to make sure it's always clean.
Yeah.
Right. So we've come up with like house cleaning on autopilot. Right.
Hmm.
That's kind of the core message. Right. But social media, these people are not going to go to social media to figure out whether they're going to hire you or
No.
not. But the people who work for the cleaning company do.
Oh.
And so now it becomes a internal marketing tool, a recruiting tool that we are going to be using in the messaging in there, so that if somebody did go and take a look at them, they're going to look at it and go, wow, they've got happy employees. Well, happy employees means that I'm going to get a good cleaning, because disgruntled employees don't clean houses very well.
Right. Yeah.
So we're indirectly marketing to the end user, but we're utilizing the channel for where it's going to have the most impact, which is recruiting and retaining good help, because they don't have a business without them.
And I think this is really important for people listening to understand, that you have to figure out who your ideal customer persona is on each of the channels and each of the pieces of digital marketing or traditional marketing that you're using, so that you can make sure that you're off. Like you said, the byproduct might be, oh, yay, the customer sees that you have happy employees, that they're going to do a great job. But really, that's not your core target audience for that platform.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be the 1 or 2% that actually see it, that are of your actual consumer, right?
Yeah.
In this instance, there's other instances where it's a very different. If you're a B corporation, what you do socially is everything.
Yes.
You've based your whole company on that, right? You base your profitability on that fact, right? So social media is going to look a lot different for you than that cleaning company.
Yeah. Very interesting. I love these conversations because I love iterating about marketing and all the different things going on in our world. And then I always learn something new, or something that I'm like, oh, I need to think about that. That's my message for today, to think about the rest of the day and figure out, like, am I doing the right thing with my own stuff? Right. Because I think also as marketers, we're like the cobbler whose kids don't have shoes, right? Sometimes we focus so much on our clients' needs, and we forget to make sure that our stuff is up to par as well. But then our stuff is the selling tool that people look at to decide if they're going to work with us as well. It's a vicious cycle.
It is. But I mean, if you're a professional B2B services company, all you have to this is my personal opinion, and this is what I do. You can follow me and see it for yourself. On my Instagram, I show who I am. On my Facebook, it's what I do on Instagram, because all of my families and friends from all the way back to junior high, that's where they see me. So they see stuff there. On my LinkedIn, I'm all business.
Yeah.
Because that's all that people care about. I don't care. It's great if you have a kid or something like that. I've played with the idea of that stuff, but I'm kind of it's weird. I'm kind of a private person. I'm a public figure of sorts, but I'm a private person with, I just don't think anybody cares, for one. And number two, I don't care if anybody knows.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't
That's the
complete
key.
me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was in Alaska for 10 days. This past, we just got back from Alaska on Monday. I posted 2 pictures in 10 days on my Instagram, and none, Instagram and Facebook, and none on Twitter or LinkedIn. But I mean, I had my scheduled stuff, my value in advance.
Yeah.
That's what I put there.
Nice.
And that's all really the people who are looking me up on LinkedIn really care about. It's like, does this guy know what he's talking about? Does he walk the walk, talk the talk? Okay, great. You know, and if they sort of say, well, how did you post that if you were over there? It's like, I automated that. It's me talking. It doesn't matter when I said it.
Right.
I'm just making sure you see it when you want to see it.
Absolutely.
So there is room for automation, but not when you're trying to be laser focused on individual businesses or people within those businesses.
Yeah. So you wrote the book during the pandemic, you kept most of your clients, and then has the book been a marketing tool for you to get new clients?
The book, directly writing a book does not get you clients. It opens doors for you to talk with people like you. And then the value that I bring to audiences, you will usually create enough of that interest where people will do their research. They'll read the book. There's a guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and he wrote a book about marketing books, right? And one of the things he says is that, you know, when you write a book like that, you're definitely giving value in advance, but only 2% of everybody who reads the book will reach out in some way to you. So if you rely on and then selling books is hard.
Yeah.
Like selling books sucks. Like I do not want to be an author. I have a friend who that's all he does. Right. Like it's like, and he makes really good money doing it, but he's been doing it for as long as I've been in business.
Yeah.
And it's just now coming to fruition for him. But he was smart with it. Now for me as an author, as I get older, probably that might be like as I exit out of my companies and whatever that looks like, I'll have that luxury, if you will, to not worry about whether I sell 1,000 copies a day and all the other things that these folks have to worry about when that's all they have to rely on. But I feel that the book has definitely allowed me to speak to my power, and really push my passion, which is eradicating entrepreneurial poverty, and get on stages. And regardless of how many people, I don't need a lot of people to sign up for my stuff. That's not what it's about. My whole thing is to get people who don't know what they're talking about out of the way, and arm entrepreneurs with the information they actually need to be successful with their digital marketing. Because there's so many people selling snake oil out there. Wow. And I'm tired of it. Yeah. To be quite honest with you. And so in some ways I look at ISO 14 and I go, yay. Now the marketers get to shine, right? Because it's like
we actually get to do our jobs and show what we do. And so is that your definition of entrepreneur poverty, or how would you elaborate on that?
Poverty. That's a great question. Entrepreneur poverty comes from when you are always putting your business first. So for almost 15 years, all I did was reinvest in my company. I bootstrapped it after I got out of the service. I leveraged it with debt. I did all the things. I had a multi-million-dollar company, and I did not make a 6-figure income.
Wow.
Okay. That's entrepreneur poverty. Was I in the streets? No. Did I wear good clothes? Of course I did. Did I miss a meal? No. But for what the amount of work I was doing and the amount of compensation that I was taking, no, nobody should work that hard and get that little.
Yeah. That's a trap a lot of entrepreneurs, including myself, fall into is I mean, I know there are a lot of books out there that say, pay yourself first, do this, do that, but that's easier said than done, because we want our businesses to work. We want to make sure we're taking care of the people who are helping our businesses and our clients continue to grow and flourish. But it's an endless cycle. And sometimes you just have to step out of your own way. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did. You said, okay, this is not working.
It's not working. I looked at it. I had some very unfortunate things. It was a house of cards. When you do it, when you grow yourself broke, you are literally living in a house of cards. And so as I was watching the walls kind of teeter, I was like, I'm going to have to spend another 5 years to try to get back to where I was just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I ain't doing it. That's a definition of insanity. Just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And I'm like, nope, not going to do that. And so I had a 13,000 square foot facility at 22 employees, whole 9 yards. I shut down the facility, lost my tail on that, and I sent everybody home.
Yeah.
And most of those people didn't want to work from home. This is 2019. It's before the pandemic.
Wow.
And, but I was like, having this building is one of my biggest pain points. And I was like, I need to get rid of my pain points so I can focus on what I really want to do, which is help entrepreneurs be successful. Nice. It wasn't until I found out how impoverished I was, because everybody was telling me how successful I was, right? Multi-million-dollar company, you got all these employees, you got a beautiful building, blah, 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 all this culture and all the other things that all the books tell you need, right? They're all vanity metrics.
Yeah.
Right. Revenue is vanity metric. Profit is what matters.
Yes.
And so I said, okay, well, then we're going to go the other direction and see what that does. And that's what I did. I walked away from the building. I walked away from having in-house employees, and so I just have remote employees. We're 100% remote. So by the time, and that's probably one of the things that helped us out during the pandemic, is we didn't have all that overhead everybody else had that they couldn't even use during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right.
They're paying for empty buildings. Yeah.
Right. And I don't work with a lot of retail. I don't work with restaurants. I don't work with retailers. And I don't work with e-commerce. Now, if I had been an e-commerce guy, I would have made millions, because that exploded, but it just wasn't my thing. I work with service-centric businesses. So I like people who I work with, HR firms. I work with publishers. I work with coaches, doctors, lawyers, all those things. All of those things kept going.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't a matter of, oh crap, how do we, the dentists probably got hit the hardest, because they were told they couldn't. But luckily we had PPP and a couple other things that helped them through that.
Right.
Right. And so when they finally got there, everybody's like, man, my teeth are hairy. Let's go. So there's like, everybody came flooding back in, it took them a year to get caught back up.
Yeah.
Right. And nobody was not doing a no-show, because they're like, I need my teeth cleaned. Right. So all that to say is that when you are looking at your business, it needs to work for you, not the other way. Mm-hmm. And like you said, so many entrepreneurs are so willing to give up their time over money. And the thing is this, you can always make more money, but you can never make more time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And why do we work for ourselves? Because we see a need, we see a void, and we want to have that time. We have this idea that we're going to create all this time for ourselves to enjoy time with family and friends, or travel, or this or that. But if you're just working for the company and not making it work for you, you lose all.
I owned a job.
Yeah.
I owned a job, and my boss underpaid me.
Yeah.
Right.
And you had nobody to blame but yourself.
Right. Well, and I didn't even know that I was doing it until it was too late. Right. Yeah. And it's so funny because entrepreneurs will work 90 hours a week so they don't have to work a 40-hour week job. It's just
crazy. We're all crazy. Just admit it right now.
That's right.
So I had
you got to be a little crazy.
Yeah. Is your book, and forgive me for not knowing this, is your book available as an Audible?
It is not. And the reason why is if you listen to it, you won't remember it all, because there's just, it's all sound. There are a bunch of sound bites. If you listen to all of those sound bites in a row, you might as well just have the book. Just because it's just there. I've been asked about the Audible, and it's a short book for one, and number two, it's a book that you want to write notes or highlight stuff, and then come back to those things, because it's like I said, it's only 120 pages, and I don't spend any time with long stories. So it's not a matter of like driving down the road and, oh, now Buzz is going to go off on this tangent of like when he was a little kid and he's picking up walnuts because that was his first job. No, you don't care. You care about the bottom line. revenue, it's moving the revenue needle. And so everything in that book is specific to that. So they actually call it a shook. It's a short book.
Oh yes. I'm familiar with
Mike
Capuzzi.
Yeah, Mike Capuzzi. Yep. And I got that term from him. I've been on his show, and he was super excited when he found out, like, he's like, I read your book. And all of a sudden I was noticing that your format was much like, the 100-page book. I was like, yes, but mine's 120. But anyway, he's like, you did a perfect job of it, type of thing. But that, for me, it was about getting the information out and not having a novel.
Yeah.
My next book is going to be a full-length book.
Okay.
And that hopefully will be coming out next year.
Ooh, awesome.
And that one is, I use a acronym called SIMPLE.
Okay.
And to simplify the process of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it's an acronym. So it's strategy, identifying opportunities, marketing research, planning, launching, and evaluating.
Mm-hmm.
Simple. And so that's the cycle of it.
Nice.
And so there's where, like, well, the rule of 26 will get plugged in there at some point because it's part of strategy, right? Mm-hmm. But each of those will have frameworks that people can then empower themselves to have in their back pocket, and then hire people like me mm-hmm. to execute one or all of those things.
Nice.
Or some of them.
Yeah. Well, something that I've been learning recently is that there's a lot less competition on Audible for people to purchase than in, the Kindle or Amazon store. And I also have, for myself, I've realized I like listening to like a chapter of a book or a lesson in a book audibly, mm-hmm. and then mm-hmm. having the workbook, the journal, the whatever, to then work on and actually participate and take what I just heard. And so
I'll do it. I'll do it.
That might be something you want to look into.
So what we're doing, I'm putting my time right now in this particular book. I could probably read that book in, well, shoot, it only takes a few hours to read the book. So I could probably make that. I have my production studio and stuff like that still. So I could probably do that pretty quick. Yes. Yeah, I have all the tools. It's just a matter of reading the book. I guess I could do that. It's one of those things. I'm new to being an author, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not my power. And so when I think of a nonfiction book that's just full of numbers and concepts, I'm like, oh, I guess I'll try it out. It's not going to cost me a lot of money to pull one out there, right?
No, exactly. And
maybe I'll have to hire you to let people know that I did that.
I'm happy to do that. Yeah, but I've been doing a lot of research in that.
But is the cost of an Audible book for that? I guess it depends on who you're trying to talk to as well, I guess. So like, I feel like the younger generations like Audible more than reading.
Yeah. And
because they like to.
And nonfiction books are performing really well on Audible right now. So just giving you a little plug. And then the other question, because I've been listening to a lot more Audible content, like when I'm walking all the time, when I'm walking the dogs, more than I was 5 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. If I'm driving in the car, I'm like, I want to just absorb more content audibly when I'm not in a place where I can watch a video or read a book. I still have physical books too, but just, throwing that out there. And then the other thing is, I know a lot of social media marketers that I've talked to recently are saying that they're trying to get their clients to like 80% video by the end of this year. And that by 2025, most of social media is going to be just video content. And you talked a little bit about, if you're not on Reels on Instagram, you're probably not getting seen as much. So how does that, is that a trend that you're seeing in your work, or are there some other trends that you could share with us?
I think that this comes back to the original topic, which is one trick pony syndrome,
mm-hmm.
right? Humans like to interact with data in many forms. Okay. When you talk about video, most social media is consumed without the sound on their phone. Because when are you watching it? When you're waiting for somebody or waiting for some like a doctor in a waiting room, or maybe you're in line at the grocery store, Maybe you're taking an unauthorized break at work, when you can't have the sound on, those types of things.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why, you'll hear people talk about the fact that you need to have subtitles on that so that they can consume it. Because if there's not, they're going to go to the next video that does. Right. So yes, just as much as that video is important, the text is what they're actually consuming.
Yeah.
So you'd be amazed where reading, if you go to mine, the post you just talked about, did I have a picture on there? Was that a video?
No.
Right. And there's actually
it was the
people
first thing
engaging.
I talked to you about. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the first thing we talked about. So
it wasn't even, I didn't even go to your page to find that. I opened LinkedIn and it popped up. So because I'm following you, and the algorithm said, this is information you need.
Right.
So.
And the earlier that is, the more apt you're going to read it. Yeah. Right. And so you find that on LinkedIn specifically, I think that you read a lot of the first few and then you start skipping to videos. It depends on where you're at in your day. So later in the day, you're probably watching more videos. Earlier in the morning, probably reading more posts. By 2025, that's like 2.5 years from now. That's a long time in digital marketing.
Yeah,
that's like another career for me. Like, holy cow.
To think about.
Yes. By then, I'll have a chip right here in my temple that's going to just give all the stuff that I want. And it'll be done, right? My glasses will have it holographic right here. So all that stuff. So to your point, yes, video is the most engaged form on social media, but social media is going to change in the next 2.5 years. I do not see TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and even LinkedIn looking anything like they are today. Anybody who thinks, I used to be the guy who's like, oh, this is it. We finally have arrived. And this is how it's going to be forever. Right. I think there was somebody like 1899 said like 98% of all technology had been created that we'll ever see as human beings. Right. I was in 1899.
Yeah. Wow.
They thought that was everything. So if you think that the iPhone is it, no, the smartphone is the start, right? It's the start to the next generation. How long will it take to get there? A lot faster than between the phone and the iPhone, for sure. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
We've seen the compression of technology, right? Because technology begets more technology.
Right.
Right. So I tell people, focus on the next 6 months. Look at the technology you have. Look at your tech stack right now and say, how much time does it take? How many resources do we use to make what we produce? And what do we get in return for that? If that's not profitable, you're doing it wrong, or you're using the wrong tools.
Yeah.
Okay. And if that's the case, don't spend time trying to figure it out on your own. There are plenty of experts out there who will tell you.
Exactly.
Right. Find somebody who's been in marketing for more than 10 years. They'll tell you what will work for a lot longer than any technology that we're looking at today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you think PR is still around?
Yeah.
Because PR is a fundamental part of marketing. It's not going anywhere. How we do PR, how you deliver the message will change constantly.
Yes.
But what you say and how you say it will not. Your message is so much more important than the avenues that we put it out there on.
Yep. Yeah. I date myself by saying, I remember when we had to fax press releases, and then we had to pick up the phone and call and hope that they picked up to make sure that they received our press release.
Right.
I mean, people today could never even imagine doing that.
No, you actually, I saw a reel that was like the parent and the kid, and they played the tone of AOL.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what is that? And they're like, I don't know what that is. Fax machine made a very similar sound, and most people don't know. And this is the funny thing. There's still industries that are forced to use faxes. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's in medical. So that tells you about our medical practices. So
I think we could go off on so many tangents about technology. What I'd love to find out is, so we have your what's next. You have another book coming out. Really excited. You're going
I have
to
a podcast coming out pretty soon. So
Awesome.
that's my Audible, by the way. I was thinking
Yay,
about when you were
okay.
talking, I was like, yes, so I'm gonna have like this series of Audibles coming out. And so it'll be like more of like diving into each of those sound bites.
Yeah.
But I will take your advice and I'm gonna squeeze in recording this Audible and see if my team can't get that out there for people
There you
and see
go.
how that
See?
works.
Yeah.
Done
Just
and
try
done.
it. It
Bite
won't
the
take
bullet.
fight the bullet. It won't take too much more time and you'll reach and inspire more people.
There you go. Yeah, no, and that's the whole point. Like people are like, why'd you read the book? Because I want more people to understand how simple marketing strategy can be. If you just took the rule of 26 and said everything goes to those 3 objectives, if it doesn't feed those 3 objectives directly, then we're not doing it until we have exhausted every way to maximize all 3 of those objectives. Period. End story.
Done. Mic drop. Awesome. Michael, is there anything else that you want to share with our audience today?
If you are interested in the book, you can go to my website, ruleof26.com.
Nice.
And that has my link directly to the book. It is a best-selling book, by the way.
Woo!
Yeah. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback. I've actually had somebody who writes textbooks for UCLA in the digital marketing realm. So he writes digital marketing textbooks for UCLA. He has a video on there, look for it. And he literally calls me a genius. I'm like, dude, let's not go that far. But he's like, no, you make it so simple for everybody to understand what it's going to take to move their revenue needle through their website. Because so many business owners don't look at their website as a revenue source. And that's a big deal. That's what's holding a lot of service-based businesses back. Any business, really, doesn't matter.
Well, okay, and then I'm going to have to introduce you to one of my friends who runs the digital marketing master's program at USC.
Oh,
to counter
okay.
that.
Okay, that sounds good.
I will make that LinkedIn connection today.
Awesome.
Freddie Nager, he's an amazing brand expert.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay.
I would love to get his
I see what you're
feedback on my
doing.
book.
Awesome. So the rule of 26.com is the best way to find out everything about Michael Buzinski, and it has links to your book. It has links to your social media and everywhere else people can find you. And
actually, no, that's just for the book.
Okay.
Buzzworthy.biz has everything you ever want for me there. It has all the social media links and all the good things there. And that also talks about my business and what we do there and how we serve people.
Awesome. Now, we've talked about so many things, but my last question is, do you have a favorite quote or mantra?
So I do. I have a mantra. It's my own mantra. And that is sound strategy outperforms blind tactics every time. I'll just let that soak in.
Yeah, that's strong. Awesome. Michael, thank you so much for taking some time with me today. Really appreciate it. I can't wait to read and hopefully listen to both of your books and your podcast.
I appreciate it. I will keep you in the loop.
Awesome. And I will have all of the links in the show notes, and the transcript of this episode, when it's released, will also go out on my brand new website, yourbandamplified.co. So check it out there. If you can listen to the podcast and you can read the transcript at the same time, if you feel so inclined. And with that, I'm going to bid adieu, and I'll be back again next week. Thank you so much for listening.